Welcome to the Elite One Recruiting Show. Hey, excited to be back again. We have another opportunity to help athletes all over the world. Last time we had Anthony Thor from Montego Bay, Jamaica on here. Today we got Remy Skvorc coming from Malaga, Spain. He's 17 years old, 182 pounds. He's from Soto Grande International School, a 6'4" guard. He has aspirations of playing basketball at the NCAA level and at the professional level. And so, today our plan is to support and help him and give him as much advice and direction. He's a young man that will be featured on our Elite One recruiting platform. So we'll be providing some evaluations and feedback for him. So let's get, we're going to bring in Remy now.
Hey.
Hey, Remy, how you doing?
How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
All right. Welcome.
Hey, well, glad to have you on here. So can you, first of all, we're going to give you the honor of introducing yourself first and just maybe telling us a little bit more about you. And then we'll briefly give you a little bit of a background on ourselves on how we can help you.
Okay. Well, my name is Remy Skvorc. I am originally from Finland, and I'm also half American, and I'm 17 years old, living now in Spain, and have been playing basketball now for about, I think, 3 years. And I have a very big passion for it, and I want to try and take myself to the next level. And I'm looking for any type of improvement that I can make on.
Awesome. Well, we are definitely excited to have you. With us today, you're seeing our team. That's and our team is made up of Richard Stewart and Kayla Davis. I'll start with myself. Wayne Dawkins. I've been around many years. Your coach and trainer Evan Pellerin has played for me in high school. Played AAU basketball for me in high school. I was from a time before AAU, but I did manage to through high school basketball and our provincial basketball program. I was able to get a scholarship to the U.S. and from there I was able to come back and coach and train and help develop a lot of young people to become collegiate athletes and pros. I'll pass it on to my co-host.
Well, one of the things that I always say, Remy, is that we can always learn. We're always learning. We're trying to always improve as a basketball player. I noticed you just said that you've only been playing for 3.5, 4 years. That's a short period of time. And skill sets are hard to get in that short period of time. If you think about P.H.A.S.E, who plays for the Toronto Raptors, he started playing basketball when he was 16. And people are trying to tell him, and we're downgrading him because he struggles a little bit with getting the ball so much and being asked to face the basket and break guys down. Yeah. Remy, that takes time. That takes time. So you're on the right track. You have a trainer. You're working with someone who's done it on a high level. You're talking to Wayne, and Wayne is a great resource. He's done this internationally on a great level. You see Kayla there. She's a national team player. So we can all help you, but you have to understand that it takes time, and you have to put in a lot of effort and work. So now P.H.A.S.E watching now these games, he's starting to face the basket more. He's not backing down, and he's not throwing up shots over his shoulder. Yeah, it takes time. It takes time. So 2 years from now, P.H.A.S.E is going to be really good. It takes time. So for you, it's the same journey in being a new player. And so we've watched some of your stuff, and we're going to give you an idea of what we saw. And let's take it as constructive criticism to help you get better. I'm glad you want to learn. And so welcome to this platform.
Thank you.
Right. Awesome. Kayla?
Yeah, so kind of like already Richard mentioned, I played for the national team, the Canadian national team for a couple of years, provincial team that we have out here, the Ontario provincial team. I came up playing AAU. I'm also probably the closest in age to you in this podcast, so I think I have a slight ability to know a little bit more in terms of how I was young people, nowadays. So I did play AAU. I went through the process similar to what you would most likely go through too, in terms of high school, maybe a prep school and things like that, and then rode that all the way to the Division I level and played there. Through a couple injuries, kind of cut my career a little bit short, and now I focus more on skill development and training, as well as this recruiting platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
Awesome.
Remy, we're not old. Don't let her tell us that.
Yeah, I know.
You can tell. You can tell. We don't need to lie, but it's all good.
She takes these sneak jabs, these sneak age jabs.
Yeah.
Every now and then. It's okay. And then your coach will be joining us, and trainer Evan will be joining us. Evan is being a professional basketball player for 16 years.
Nice.
So I'm going to invite Evan in, but Evan's from Toronto, went to Jarvis Collegiate, was a powerhouse back in the day when, before high school basketball started to die off over here. But, he definitely put that school on the map and helped build on that legacy of that school before going on to play professionally. He's a true blue collar worker. I think that, he's one of those young men. Yes, he's very talented, but his work ethic is unmatched. His willingness to bang it out, grind it out. Fight bang with anybody, bigger players. It's not a surprise at all that he's had a 16-year professional career. So we're going to bring in Evan Pellerin right now. Hey, pal, what's good, fam?
What's good, man?
All right.
Good to see you guys. Richard, how you doing?
I'm
Kayla,
doing good, my brother. Jarvis, Collegiate, huh?
Jarvis, you know it, man.
I know it well. I have to know the books in that gym, bro.
Yeah, we had a lot of history. We had a lot of good things going there back in the day. A lot of good battles. A lot of good battles with Eastern, a lot of great battles with Oakwood. So I know the history. I know your history a little bit. I know you're one of the guys that paved the way for guys like me, along with Dawkins. So I really respect and appreciate you guys for that.
Hey, Richard, this our opportunity to mess with Kayla. She never heard of Jarvis.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. Yeah,
you can tell she's young because she heard Jarvis and she's like, Jarvis.
Yeah,
great tournament there. Great tournament. One of the best tournaments in the city there.
Hey, before we jump into that, because we'd love to hear about your journey, Evan, and because that's obviously a big part of what you're passing on to young people like Remy out there in Spain. Right. So tell us a little bit about your journey from Jarvis to being a 16-year pro.
Yeah, so it's actually wild here in the 16 years. It just time goes by so fast. It's just like, it seems like yesterday I was leaving the city to go over to play to start my university career, and then from there I moved on and started playing professionally. So played at Jarvis, ended up being fortunate enough to get a scholarship, went on to play at a HBCU, Morgan State University. In Baltimore, Maryland. Nice. Division I school, before I transferred over to Stonehill College, one of the top Division IIs in the United States. At the time, well, they weren't necessarily at the time, but now they are for sure. And was able to have a great 2 years there that kind of propelled me to getting some interest to play overseas. Took that opportunity, started my career in Ireland. Went on from there to play in Switzerland. From Switzerland, I then played in France, where I played the bulk of my career. So I probably played about roughly 10 seasons in France. And then I've been here in Spain finishing out. So I've been here in Spain for the last 2 seasons. But I played a season back a few years ago before I then went back to France for a few years. So now I'm back here in Spain. Kind of at the tail end, just hanging on with these young guys, still running up and down, still being able to compete a little bit, So
it's a young man's sport. It's a young man's sport.
It's a young man's sport, but it keeps me young. Working with my guy Remy here every day, kind of keeps me young and keeps me pushing forward and trying to reach my own little personal goals along the way and stuff. So
how'd you get into coaching? How'd you get into coaching and training? What made you transition from just being a player to wanting to help kids and help others? How'd you get into that?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, Richard. Actually, it's been something that's been brewing for a while in me. I've been coaching now for quite a few years, like while playing, you know. So I would come home in the summers in Toronto. I would do different, different camps and different things with the youth back in the city while I was home during the summers. And then as well, when I was out in Europe and France and stuff, I would always, coach some of the young guys within the clubs I was playing for. So some of the younger, I would kind of identify guys and work with them. So, I always kind of had a passion to give back because it's thanks to guys like Wayne and, guys like John Clara. And, there's so many, the list goes on and on, even
John Clara.
John Clara, man, that guy is he's such an underratedly important person in the history of basketball in our city. He kind of flies under the radar, but he's a guy who just is so giving and just has given so much to so many youth over the years. So guys like that and seeing kind of what they did, I always kind of, put that in the back of my head, like, hey, you want to kind of leave things better than you found it. And, you want to kind of give back. And so, Evan,
that comes with maturity a little bit. Because even when I was at St. Joe's, I was averaging like 11 points, 11.5 points a game in my junior year. And I'm like ready to, I'm going to add 5 or 6 more points. I'm in the league. And I'm like, all right, I'm ready. I worked hard that summer, man, and I was like ready. And all of a sudden my coach gets fired. And what happens then is I had to make a choice because the new coach came in. He brought in Rap Curry, who was a Philadelphia star, a publicly star, flat out Rap Curry. And Bernard Blunt. I don't know if people remember Bernard Blunt. I think he went up against, just an awesome basketball player, a baby Jordan type of player, can do everything, score from everywhere. Not super like Jordan, but he's just, as a freshman, the guy was just amazing, bust his knee. So it was done with him. And then what I had to do was make a decision, Evan. Either be a malcontent, either be sour, or teach the other kids. So to your point about how you turn into coaching, the same thing for me. Is like I just looked around and said, you know what, man? I got to teach these cats how to beat West Virginia. I got to teach these cats how to beat Villanova. I know what they run. I know what they do. I know their tendencies are. So instead of me, so that just made it hard for me because I was moving a role where I wasn't getting enough touches and stuff. And I'm like, man, I'm a senior. I'm ready to do all this work to get there. And then something happens, and then you have to make a choice. And just like you say you want to help your teammates. Yeah. That's basically how I end up training and coaching. And it flowered from there to all the, Dylan Brooks, Ignis. My son played for San Antonio. A couple of girls are out there playing Wake Forest and all that stuff, Villanova. I got plenty of kids out there that transition helped them to get there. And I look at it now as a blessing. So I'm happy that you're doing it and just keep doing it, man. You're doing the right thing. It's awesome to hear you're doing something like that.
Okay, well, let's get to Remy involved here. Remy, like I said, we really want to make sure that any questions you have, we try to answer them to your best of our ability, and give you some feedback. So, what questions do you have for us North Americans over here, and, North American basketball people?
I had some questions about the actual recruitment process. How does it really go about? How do the colleges, how do they actually meet the players? Where and so forth? How does it? What's the step-by-step in a way, or close to what there is maybe to it?
Okay. Well, Kayla, there's several different ways that happen. So you know what, Kayla, once you give, maybe you can start by giving him a few.
The most current.
Yeah, the
most current
description of how things work. Even from when I was playing AAU, it's evolved. But usually, in terms of recruitment, it can come in various ways. So we have high school basketball, you have AAU. Speaking about my personal experience, most of my recruiting came from AAU experiences in terms of traveling to some of the tournaments. Like you have the Nike EYBL, the Under Armour, and Adidas circuits. Those are pretty well-known circuits, and when you play in those tournaments, you're playing against top-ranked talent that you have. You might not necessarily be playing them in that game, but they're in the building, so the people that are coming to watch them are going to be checking out some games as well. But to just kind of simplify the experience, it's performing in front of these coaches, right, that are going to be at these AAU tournaments, and in various scenarios, it could be a situation where they're coming to watch your teammate, but they see you and they're like, hey, this kid has something that I think is valuable that we're going to look for. It also depends in terms of coaching, what they're looking for that year in terms of if they're looking for a point guard, if they're looking for a shooting guard, depends on what year you're coming in. But in general, for me, played AAU, did about 2 years, I guess actually three solid years of AAU during high school through different AAU teams, provincial team. We traveled, played for a national team. And the first year I played, scouts weren't allowed to come, but now they've updated that. So if you play for a national team around the U15, U16 junior national team, they can come in, they watch the world championship. So recruiting is the first step, is the exposure. The second step, usually they're going to reach out with questionnaires, depending on how old you are. If you are a junior, and I think depending on the rules I got to brush up on, they're allowed to directly contact you at certain periods throughout the year. This might be information you already know, and you could probably, Evan probably gave you a quick kind of spiel on that, but it's, I remember getting a lot of phone calls. They want to get to know you better, and you ask the questions in terms of good questions to ask, or what are you looking for in terms of my position? How do you see me fitting in? What type of offense do you run? And some schools will straight up tell you if they're in a rebuilding phase, and other schools will straight up tell you if you can expect to kind of come in and you're going to be competing for a spot right away, or it's a scenario where they got 4 or 5 other guys at your position that are able to potentially be on the court. But it goes by pretty fast, and in terms of being prepared to communicate with the coaches, at times it can seem overwhelming. But when you have people in your corner, like trainers like Evan, or recruiting platforms like P.H.A.S.E and what we've created and what Wayne's created in terms of just making the process a little bit easier, it definitely aids and allows, takes some of that stress off your shoulders in terms of that. But the number one thing in terms of advice I can give you is just when you handle yourself on the court, you work on your skills, all that stuff is definitely going to handle itself. And you're at the end of the day, when it comes to your production and all that, once you get there, the work that you put in is like you're starting from the beginning again. But yeah, it's pretty fast. And I'll let some of my other co-hosts kind of give you guys a little bit more in-depth as well.
Well, Remy, the target list, like Kayla went over some great points for where you're at now and what is happening now. Here's some of the things that I want to let you know. Create a target list of schools. Schools that you think you would like to play at. And that's how you start. So you create a target list of schools. You want to play at Massachusetts. You want to play at Florida. You want to play at Alabama. It's not, to go through all the schools and say, I'd like to play there. Gather contact information. Who are the coaches there? Who's the assistant coaches? All those things are networking things. Assistant coaches go to different schools, and coaches come from different schools. So gather information. Try and reach out to them by a letter or sending them a video. This platform will help you do that, though. Once you're on this platform, a lot of coaches are going to see you, so that's also a helping thing. Attend summer camps. I'm sure Evan can point to some of the summer camps and showcases that are around. If they don't have any there, they do have them in North America. Know the rules and the regulations of where you're trying to get to, and you got to know the academic requirements. Education is an important part, Remy, and you have to know what, you have to take an ACT, a SAT. I don't know what you need to take coming from Europe to here. Maybe it's the same process. And look at what you want to do. Specific players have specific gifts. If you want to go to, if you want to go to Kentucky now and you're a point guard, you have a good chance to play next year. I believe their point guard is not very skilled, and that's why they struggle so much. But for you, you may think, okay, you know what? I'm a wing player, but at your height, 6'4", nowadays, you probably have to play the 2. The 2 is one of the hardest positions to play in basketball. You have to have good lateral movement. You got to be able to shoot the basketball. You got to be able to drive on guard. You got to be able to defend that position. Kevin Durant plays 2. You're going to have Bradley Beal. So if you're thinking about being a pro, you want to train and get your mindset right if you want to play that position. So scouts are looking for, so now I've put on all that target list for you. Scouts are looking for a person who has good shot selection, and Evan can tell you that. Shot selection. Dribbling skills, looks like Evan taught you some good stuff. I saw the drills you were doing with the dribbling. Defense, you have to play great defense, and your knowledge of the game. Sometimes a lot of things that coaches are looking for are the intangibles. Is there a backdoor cut available there? Do I know to do a pick and roll properly? When a guy drives, do I run to the open spot and ready, set to shoot? A lot of intangibles that people don't see. So those are the things that I would like you to think about. And this platform is a highlight for you to a lot of people around the world that what you can do. So I hope that helps you, my friend.
Yeah, and I'd like to share because you know, I want to share just a little bit from my experience with Evan. You know, Evan and I are from that time where, if you know Kayla, she just quickly rattled off AAU and stuff like that. But Evan is one of the pioneers of AAU, and AAU, the American Athletic Union. It's like the club system that that dominates North American North American youth basketball.
Yeah.
And the thing about that club system that that at the time, for us coming from Canada, which it makes it a little bit more similar to what you're experiencing, is one, it's American Athletic Union, not Canadian. So when we were trying to get on that trail, it was new, and Evan, you can attest to this, that we had one shot. Like, if they let us in, we had to perform. And I think that's one of the things that I think, I'd like to really impress on you, that, like nowadays kids would play 100 games, and they all on YouTube, everything, and building up to bringing your best from game to game sometimes might be a little bit hard. But for us at that time, we knew we had one shot. We didn't have YouTube. We had to go in there and we had to bust butts and leave there and leave our mark. And Evan, I just want to bring up the King of Prussia World Tournament.
Man,
I don't even know what year it was, but
I think it was 2001, because we got the photo. I remember seeing the photo is actually what brought me back to that moment when you have the photo of us there after we won on the bleachers, in the bleachers there, and that was in a place called King of Prussia in
Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's in Pennsylvania.
It's close to Philly. Yeah.
I remember that. And we brought a squad. It was Rans Brempong, yourself, Tristan Martin. We brought a bunch of guys down there. And then Kevin Messiah. So these guys, we had no choice. We had to, if we didn't perform, that was it. I think we had Calipari in the gym even for that game, but we ended up winning this tournament.
Wow.
King of Prussia, and that was huge. A Canadian AU team winning an American tournament. And those are the kind of things that I would just say that when given the opportunity to perform, no excuses. You treat that like this is it. Like, if I don't perform the way I need to right now to max out my ability, I don't know if that next opportunity is coming. So it's a little bit different in a sense of the process for us getting there than for you. But I think the thing that I hope that you can relate to is the fact that